Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about filling out the extracurricular section on the Common App. So let's just do a very little quick overview. Colleges look at your applications holistically, so extracurriculars are important because they want to see who you are behind the grades, and this is where you can tell them what your involvement outside of school is. The Common App allows you to fill in up to 10 extracurricular activities, and these activities could be anything. It could be summer internships or programs, any volunteer organizations that you're a part of, any clubs at school. And the reason that you have to approach this area or filling out this section with a strategy is because you have a limited word limit. What? No, you have a word limit. So you have to choose your words very carefully. So really quickly, I'm just going to open up the Common App and show you how the extracurricular section looks. So the first thing is activity type, and right here it's just a bunch of categories for you to choose from. So there's academic, art, all the way to community service and volunteering, to things like paid work or any internships. Then there's the position or leadership description, and this is just it's self-explanatory, the position that you held in the club, then the organization name or the club's name, and then a brief description of your activity. So let's kind of talk about these sections before I go any further. Okay, so let's talk about the activity type section or the categories. You want to choose your categories wisely, and what do I mean? You want to have a theme with your activities, but at the same time you don't want them to be like too constrained to one particular interest. So for example, I'm going to use engineering because that's what I want to study. So you want to study engineering, right? So it would make sense if you're a part of something like environmental club, robotics club, math club. Right, so these clubs all kind of relate to this broad theme of engineering, and I'm interested in engineering. At the same time, you don't just want all of your clubs to be about engineering. You want to show that you're diversified and that you have multiple interests and that you're willing to explore. So maybe a music club, or maybe volunteering to help kids learn how to read. So have variety, but also have a focus. So with the leadership position, I think that's very self-explanatory. What is your position or role in the club? And you want your most top tier position, or the position that you've most recently held. Okay, so with the description section, this is where your strategy is important and you want to choose your words carefully. You have a character limit of 150, and that's not a lot. So the key to filling out the description section well is being as specific as possible. You don't want to really necessarily talk too much about the club in general and what the club does. You can mention that if you have to, like if it's not already self-explanatory. What you want to focus on is what your role is in the club. What have you done in the club? Be specific, use numbers, just be specific. For example, if you're the president of an environmental engineering club or environmental club, you don't want to spend too much time focusing on what environmental club does. You wouldn't want to spend too much time describing
environmental club is here to better the environment, blah blah blah.
What you want to focus on is what you did as president in environmental club. For example, I orchestrated a beach cleanup and we had over 3,000 volunteers. And a PSA to Caribbean and international students: be very, very careful with the activities that you choose. In general, I would recommend choosing things that are internationally recognizable. So things like Key Club, things like sports teams, things that are very self-explanatory. Otherwise, if you choose activities that nobody really knows or that are just very specific to your country, you might have to spend a little bit of time in the description explaining what that activity is, and that takes away from the amount of characters you have to actually explain what you did in the club, which is what matters. What matters is what you did. And don't get me wrong, if you have an activity that is a very big part of you and that you feel your application will be incomplete if you don't mention it, please mention it. Just bear in mind that at the end of the day, the people reading your admissions paper are likely from the US or are more familiar with the US school system. So they're familiar with those activities. So just bear that in mind. So right now, let's hop back onto the Common App and look at the other parts of it. So when you look, you'll see participation, grade levels, timing of participation, hours spent per week, weeks spent per year, and then asking if you intend to participate in a similar activity in college. So with this section, you want to demonstrate consistency. Colleges want to see that you are dedicated towards the activities that you're interested or that you pursue. So for example, if all of your participation grade levels are just your final year in high school, they'll see straight through that, right? Versus if you've been in the club for all of your years in high school. With the hours spent per week and weeks spent per year, you don't have to be exact, like very few people know exactly how much time, but just make sure that it's believable. And Ari, the question that asks if you're going to participate in the activity in college, just to be honest, I feel, and just remember that like no one's going to hold a gun to your head and say, oh, you have to participate in this activity once you're actually at college. Okay, so let's kind of talk about how I filled up my Common App as an example. So I had indicated on my applications that I wanted to study engineering, and so I thought it was important to highlight activities related to that. For example, I highlighted a robotics internship that I did and also the fact that I teach math. But at the same time, I showed that my interests were varied by talking about other activities like table tennis and art society. Alright, so let's dive into my Common App and actually see what I filled out for one of my activities. So I actually used up all the 10 slots in my activity section, and right now I'm talking about activity 2. So the activity type or the category I chose was art. My position was president of the Art Society. The organization name was the Art Society. So in the description section, I didn't really talk too much about what the Art Society does in general because I thought the name was self-explanatory. We do art. What I did talk about is what I did as president, which was plan and oversee club activities, including games, painting, and origami. And then I said that I also helped to organize our first ever art exhibition in 2017, and I stated how much money we raised. So that was very specific. I used figures, dates, and facts. Okay, so for participation grade levels, again, dedication and consistency is key. As you can see here, I ticked grades 9, 10, 11, 12, which makes sense. I was in the club from grades 9, and by the time in grade 12, I was the president. Timing of participation, if it's a school club, clearly I did it during the school year, and I just told them an estimate of how much time I spent per week, and I told them that I do plan to participate in a similar activity in college. Alright guys, so that's my rundown on how to fill out the extracurricular section of the Common App. I hope you found this video helpful. As per usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for your support. Today's quote is, "Design a life that you are inspired to live," by Annette White. Till next time guys, bye.